Hey March Breakers! My name is Patricia and I work for the Marine Museum of the Great Lakes in Kingston. I hope you all have been enjoying a wonderful break and have been having tons of fun with the March of the Museum crafts. Today we will be doing another awesome craft with the Marine Museum. Our craft is called Underwater Perspectives and we're going to make a porthole shipwreck scene. So buckle up breakers and let's start this super cool craft together. Before we start this craft, let's take a moment to acknowledge the Indigenous peoples of Kingston, the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples, for sharing this land with us to live, learn, and play on. The Marine Museum is right off of Ontario Street. Here it is! Now let's dive into the craft. Are you able to find the portholes on this ship? If you guessed the circle windows at the bottom of the ship over here, you guessed right. Portholes are circle windows usually found in the middle of ships. They open to let in air and light into the dark and damp places below deck. They are also seal-proof, so when there's bad weather or a rocky storm, everyone stays dry inside. People also call portholes side shuttles and bull's-eye windows. To start our craft, let's unpack our kits. Inside your yellow envelope, you should have one blue paper plate, one gold or silver paper plate ring, and one coloring sheet. Some supplies you'll need from home include coloring markers, pencil crayons, or crayons. You'll need some scissors, and you'll also need either some tape or glue. The next step is to start coloring in the bolts. To match the gold or silver outer ring of our portholes, let's find a brown marker or crayon to start coloring them in. Next, let's move on to coloring in the shipwreck. For this, I'm going to use brown, dark green, and some dark blue. While you color it in, let's talk a little bit more about shipwrecks in Kingston. Next, let's move on to coloring in. Have you ever seen a shipwreck? Do you remember this scene from Frozen 2 when Elsa and Anna and Olaf find the shipwreck? What about the opening scene of Tarzan when Tarzan's family escapes from a ship wreckage? Or this part in The Little Mermaid when Ariel and Flounder explore the shipwreck and learn new ways of life? Now these movie scenes are all super cool. But what if I told you there was real shipwrecks right here in Kingston? Yup, I'm not kidding. Just like the ones in Frozen, Tarzan, and The Little Mermaid, there's shipwrecks that lie underneath Kingston's waterfront. And there's a lot of them too. There's over 50 shipwrecks in the Kingston area. You may be wondering, how did all of these ships sink in the first place? Well, some of them sank by accident because at the time, all the ships were made out of wood, so it was easy for them to catch fire. Other reasons include not being used anymore and just not being repaired. Did anyone notice what ship we're coloring in today? Its name is the RMS Prince Regent. This ship was used in the War of 1812 and carried 56 guns. It was built right here in Kingston, where the Royal Military College is today. After sinking in the late 1800s, the Prince Regent's wreck has been in the Kingston water ever since. Its wreck is actually right behind Fort Henry. In the next video, let's look at a scuba diver's video of exploring the wreck. Hopefully by now everyone has finished coloring in their ship, so let's move on to coloring in the underwater wildlife that will live around it. All of the wildlife that we are coloring in today can be found right here in Lake Ontario. They include the rainbow trout, the smallmouth bass, snapping turtle, crayfish, and seaweed. So here we have some real life pictures of all of these creatures, and hopefully that will give you some inspiration for coloring them in. What's amazing about all of these underwater creatures is that they create a home around the shipwrecks, which is called an underwater ecosystem. The fish and turtles and seaweed make a new habitat around the wrecks, which allow them to thrive. It's important to protect these wrecks because they are home to so much underwater life. The next step may require some help from a parent or guardian, as we are going to cut out the underwater creatures and bolts from the coloring sheet. If you're going to do it, make sure to be extra careful with the scissors. The next step may require some help from a parent or guardian, as we are going to cut out the underwater creatures and bolts from the coloring sheet. If you're going to do it, make sure to be extra careful with the scissors. The next step, for the 5th and 6th steps, we're going to get the blue paper plate and start setting up our cutouts on it to create our underwater scene. First, we are going to put the shipwreck in the middle of it and then build the underwater life around it. So as well, once we've done that and we tape or glue everything down, we're going to get the gold or silver paper plate ring and glue or tape the bolts onto it. Great, so we're almost done. For this next step, we're going to grab the gold or silver paper plate ring and place it over the blue plate and either tape or glue it down. Now, the final step of this craft is to look through your new porthole to see an underwater ecosystem around a shipwreck. Great job, everybody! I hope that you have all enjoyed this craft and learned a little bit more about Kingston shipwrecks and underwater life. I hope that everyone has an enjoyable and safe rest of their March break, and that you have an awesome time with the rest of the March of the Museums. Bye!